When my new backyard pool became the talk of the HOA, I never expected Karen from next door to call the cops over suspicious splashing. But when the officers arrived, they weren't there for me. They slapped cuffs on her instead. Turns out, karma has a way of making a splash. The first dip in my brand new pool was supposed to be a celebration, a reward for surviving months of HOA paperwork, contractor delays, and the ever-looming threat of Karen's disapproval. The sun was high. The water was crystal blue, and I had just cracked open an ice-cold lemonade when I heard it. That's a zoning violation. Her voice was like nails on a chalkboard, sharp enough to pierce through the sound of splashing water. I turned to see Karen's pinched face glaring at me from over the fence, her bony fingers gripping the wood like she was moments away from vaulting into my yard to shut things down herself. I forced a smile. "Afternoon, Karen. Everything's permitted. Double-checked with the HOA last week." She sniffed, her eyes narrowing. "I highly doubt that. There are rules about water features in this community. Noise ordinances. Safety regulations." I took a slow sip of my drink, savoring the way her nostrils flared. "Yep, and my pool meets every single one. Fence height, depth markers, even the approved shade of blue tile." I gestured to the sparkling water. "Wanna come in and test the temperature? Might loosen you up a little." Her lips pressed into a thin, bloodless line. "This isn't over." And with that she disappeared behind the fence, leaving behind only the faint scent of her overpriced, overly floral perfume, and the distinct feeling that I hadn't heard the last of this. I sighed, and sank deeper into the water, letting the tension melt away. The pool had been a dream for years, a little slice of paradise after long shifts at the hospital. I'd earned this, and no amount of Karen's passive-aggressive HOA power trips was going to ruin it. But of course she couldn't let it go. By sunset, my phone buzzed with a notification from the neighborhood group chat. Karen had posted a lengthy message, complete with highlighted HOA bylaws and grainy zoomed-in photos of my pool. "Unpermitted construction," the caption read. "Excessive noise. Let's discuss at the next meeting." I rolled my eyes and typed back, "Permit, N408392. The replies flooded in, a mix of eye-roll emojis and "Here we go again" from neighbors who'd endured Karen's crusades before. The woman had a reputation. Last summer she'd tried to ban sidewalk chalk. Before that she'd reported the Martinez family's kids for excessive bicycle laughter. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. At exactly 9:01 the next morning, because God forbid she called during quiet hours, my doorbell rang. 2 police officers stood on my porch, looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. "Ma'am, we got a complaint about..." The younger cop glanced at his notepad, then sighed. "Suspicious aquatic activity. Look, we're just following up. Neighbor says there's possible code violations. Unauthorized gatherings." I burst out laughing. "Oh, Karen called the cops on my pool." I waved them toward the backyard. "Come see for yourselves. It's fully permitted, fenced, and not a crime scene." They exchanged a look but followed me out back. The pool glistened innocently in the sunlight. No wild parties, no illegal diving boards, just a couple of floaties bobbing in the breeze. The younger cop whistled. "Nice setup." But just as they turned to leave, Karen's shrill voice cut through the air again. "Officers, you're not leaving already, are you? There's plenty more to investigate. Improper drainage, unapproved patio furniture." The older cop held up a hand. "Ma'am, unless there's an actual crime." Page 27, subsection B. That's when the younger cop's radio crackled. A dispatcher's voice came through. "Unit 12, we've got a follow-up on that garden theft report. Suspect's shed matches the description." And suddenly, her yard was the one under investigation. I leaned against my fence, grinning. "Well, Karen, looks like someone's being naughty." The younger officer's hand went to his radio as he studied Karen with sudden interest. "Ma'am, is that your shed over there?" He pointed to the suspiciously large structure, peeking over her fence, nearly hidden behind overgrown hydrangea. That's just a garden storage unit, perfectly within HOA guidelines." The older cop flipped through his notebook. "Funny, because we got 3 calls last week about stolen landscaping equipment. And your shed," he squinted at the weathered wood, "looks an awful lot like the one reported missing from the community park maintenance area." I nodded toward her prize-winning flower bed, the same rare hybrid roses that had mysteriously vanished from the clubhouse gardens last month. Karen's face turned the color of her stolen peonies. Those were gifted to me. The younger one pulled out his phone, scrolling through photos. Ma'am, would you mind if we took a quick look inside that shed? Henderson from across the street wandered over, sipping her morning coffee with far too much interest. Oh, Karen, didn't you tell them about your special arrangement with the landscaping crew? She batted her eyelashes innocent. The one where they accidentally delivered all those pavers to your house instead of the community pool project. The older cop's eyebrows shot up. That explains why the pool deck renovation got delayed. His radio crackled again. Dispatch says the park supervisor's on his way with security footage. Her eyes darted between the cops, Mrs. Henderson's smug smile, and my sparkling pool, the very symbol of her failed power trip. This is ridiculous. I'm calling the HOA president right. That won't be necessary. Thompson, the HOA board secretary, marching down the sidewalk with a clipboard. Karen, we've been reviewing some discrepancies. He adjusted his glasses, starting with why the security deposit for the community garden tools vanished the same week you took over as treasurer. The younger cop whistled low. Ma'am, I think you should come down to the station. You should throw a party. Best morning entertainment since the Johnson's dog learned to open mailboxes. The squad car hadn't even turned the corner before the neighborhood erupted. Mrs. Martinez from 3 doors down came running out in her slippers, waving a bottle of champagne. I've been saving this since she reported my recycling bins as aesthetic terrorism. The younger cop lingered just long enough to accept a mimosa from Mr. Chen's, suddenly appeared cooler before his partner gruffly reminded him they were still on duty. As the taillights disappeared, the block party began spontaneous. Kids cannonballed into my pool while their parents passed around plates of cookies that suspiciously matched the ones stolen from last month's HOA bake sale. Mrs. Henderson tapped her nails against her coffee mug. You know what's fun? Karen's been chair of the compliance committee for 2 years. She nodded toward the now exposed shed. Plenty of time to make sure no one looked too closely at her property. Mr. Thompson adjusted his tie uncomfortably. Our records show she vetoed every single shed inspection request since last fall. He pulled a thick folder from his briefcase. But when we cross-referenced the park's stolen items list with her so-called donations to the community beautification project, I nearly choked on my lemonade. Wait, she was fencing stolen goods through the HOA? Not just goods. Mr. Thompson flipped open the folder, revealing time-stamped photos of Karen loading municipal property into her minivan. The historic lampposts she donated for the straight from the downtown revitalization project. Those vintage cobblestones for the walking path, ripped up from the 4th Street construction site. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. Old man Wilkins nearly dropped his cane. That husk, and to think she fined me $200 for an unapproved bird feeder. The real kicker came when the park supervisor arrived with security footage. There was Karen in her wide-brimmed sun hat, the one she always wore to HOA meetings, wheeling away the community's brand-new lawn aerator. The timestamp showed it was the same night she'd emailed everyone about vandalism by outsiders. Mrs. Martinez spit out her champagne. Dios mío. She used our own security cameras as her shopping list. As the evidence mounted, so did the absurdity. The borrowed park benches now decorating Karen's screened porch, the missing lifeguard chair that had mysteriously become her garden gaz. I floated on my pool lounger, watching the spectacle unfold. So let me get this straight. The woman who called the cops on my pool has been running the neighborhood's largest theft ring. Mr. Thompson nodded grimly, and billing the expenses back to us. That $500 neighborhood watch donation. She bought herself a security system. He showed us the receipt, signed by Karen as HOA president, a title she'd never actually held. The crowd's murmurs turned to outright laughter when the police called back requesting photos of everyone's mailboxes. Turns out Karen's historic brass mailbox collection matched the descriptions of 12 missing ones from the next subdivision over. Just as the party hit full swing, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You'll regret this. My pool water suddenly felt colder. Miss Henderson saw my expression and snatched the phone. Oh honey, that's just Karen's burner. She texted the same thing to the pizza boy who delivered to her house during quiet hours. She tossed my phone onto a deck chair. Now who's bringing out the good tequila? As tiki torches flickered to life around my perfect, legally permitted pool, I realized something beautiful. Karen hadn't just been hoarding stolen goods. She'd been collecting rope. And today she'd finally hung herself with it. The splash from a cannonballing kid sent water arcing through the air, catching the sunset just right. Somewhere downtown, Karen was probably still screeching about her rights. But here we had music, laughter, and the sweet taste of justice. With salt, the morning after Karen's arrest dawned suspiciously quiet. The kind of peaceful silence that usually meant the neighborhood was collectively holding its breath. I was skimming leaves from my pool when the first ripple of chaos appeared in the form of a moving truck parked crookedly in Karen's driveway. Two men in coveralls were hauling out her prized antique dresser when Miss Henderson materialized beside my fence with a fresh coffee and a predatory grin. Divorce papers were filed at 7:02 a.m. She announced like a sports commentator. Turn sightseeing, Mr. Karen's been keeping receipts of her shopping habits for years. Wait, her husband ratted her out? Oh honey, he's been waiting for this. Mrs. Henderson produced her phone, showing me a screenshot of the neighborhood Facebook group I'd somehow missed. There was Karen, actually named Greg apparently, posting a photo album titled My Wife the Criminal with security footage, receipts and a shocking number of stolen garden gnomes. The real kick, the last photo showed Karen's meticulously organized closet, with color-coded shelves, labeled HOA Funds, Park District, and my personal favorite, Christmas decorations. City Hall. Local news vans crowded the street, as reporters interviewed gleeful neighbors about the HOA bandit. Old Man Wilkins proudly showed off the recovered Civil War memorial plaque that had been mysteriously missing since Karen chaired the historical committee. Miss Thompson called an emergency HOA meeting at my poolside, the first official gathering not held in Karen's living room in 3 years. Over margaritas made with Karen's confiscated blender, still bearing Parks Department sticker, we learned the full extent of her operation. 47 verified stolen items recovered from her property, thorough and fraudulent HOA reimbursements, an entire set of playground equipment, disguised as modern art in her backyard. The vote to permanently remove Karen from the board passed unanimously, with extra cheers for banning her from future meetings. Miss Martinez proposed changing the community name from Willow Creek to Not Karen's Neighborhood, which got a standing ovation just as we were toasting with Karen's collector's edition champagne, stolen from the country club's silent auction. A city inspector arrived with shocking news. Karen's house had never passed its final occupancy inspection. The reason? Unpermitted additions, including the now infamous shed. The poetic justice was so thick you could swim in it. That evening, as fireflies danced over my legally permitted pool lights, Greg stopped by with a six-pack and an apology. I tried to warn the last HOA president, he admitted, cracking open a bit. She accidentally had their house condemned over a mailbox violation the next week. We watched as workers removed Karen's prized rose bushes, carefully replanting them at the community park under police supervision. Each thorny stem was evidence tagged, including one with a ribbon still reading, First Prize County Fair 20. Mrs. Henderson wandered over with a clipboard. Sign here if you want to join the class action for emotional damages, she said cheerfully. I'm listing trauma from excessive violation notices as the primary grievance. She'd stolen years of neighborhood joy with her constant complaints and power trips. But now the laughter echoing down the street sounded like payback. And the best part, according to the real estate agent already sticking a coming soon sign in Karen's yard, the new owners have 2 kids, a Labrador, and I kid you not, plans to install a hot tub. Here, we were already planning the welcome barbecue. The for sale sign on Karen's lawn might as well have been a neighborhood monument. For weeks, people left offerings at its base, copies of HOA violation notices they'd received from her, photos of recovered stolen items, even a framed picture of my pool with community approved stamped across it in red. Not for Karen, whose legal troubles kept growing like her infamous rose bushes, but for the Wilson family. As their minivan pulled up, the entire block collectively held its breath. Would they be Karen too? Turns out young parents Mark and Jamie Wilson were everything Karen despised. Their kids immediately started a lemonade stand that violated 3 HOA bylaws. Their golden retriever, Captain, peed cheerfully on Karen's precious rose bushes, and when Jamie saw my pool, thank God, she laughed. We were worried this neighborhood would be stuffed. The official changing of the guard happened at the season's first block party. now relocated from the clubhouse, which still smelled like Karen's potpourri, to my backyard. As kids splashed in the pool and adults clustered around the grill, Thompson made an announcement that brought actual tears to Old Man Wilkins' eyes. Effective immediately, all previous violation notices, issued by Karen, are hereby null and void. Wilson proved to be an unexpected hero when she discovered Karen's HOA archives, a hidden filing cabinet containing blackmail material on half the neighborhood. No wonder she kept threatening to report people, Jamie said, flipping through folders labeled with infractions like allowed grass to grow 1 4-inch over regulation. The episode title, The HOA Horror Show, How One Woman Stole a Neighborhood's Peace and Their Park Benches. It went viral within hours, complete with dramatic reenactments of Karen stealing municipal property in a black ski mask. The Wilsons painted their house a defiant turquoise, previously banned by Karen as tacky. The community voted to replace all the recovered stolen items with new equipment, including a poolside tiki bar built where Karen's spy perch fence post used to be. On the last warm night of the season, we threw one final pool party. The kids played Marco Polo, where Karen had once stood lecturing about noise ordinances. Adults lounged on the very patio furniture she'd tried to have me find over, and as fireworks technically against HOA rules exploded overhead, Mrs. Henderson made a toast to Karen for teaching us exactly which rules are worth breaking. It was Karen's HOA president nameplate. Must have fallen in during the party. I almost threw it away. Somewhere, probably in a beige apartment complex with no HOA. Karen sneezed violently. The pool water sparkled as I draped the nameplate over my toolshed door, right next to the permit copy, and we were all riding it straight into a Karen-free future.